want that one. Shit, I got rid of it.
Do it right or don't do it at all.
I thought I still had Jesus Freak loaded.
All right, hold on. Let me do this right. You're not doing it right. Let me do it right. Hey, the Freak, I just want to be perfectly clear. We apologize for not having your intro song, and you should send us money up here. Will you fix all the I'm trying to wait, man.
I mean, I thought I had the DC Talk Jesus Freak song still loaded up, but I don't.
I love that.
Anyways, okay, so one of my critiques against religious people entirely is they claim that they know what happens after we die, and obviously that's a lie for most of them. How do you know what happens? Tell us your story.
Because I had a vision from God, and
were you high? Were you dead? Were you sleeping?
I just got done praying, and he was in total control. He did everything, and I was just kind of there, along for the ride.
Is that why you used the image of Neo stopping the bullets? Because you were just along for the ride and he stopped the bullets?
I think in the Matrix Reloaded, I just really like that part of the movie and how he's able to, dodge all the bullets,
I can accept that. Go ahead.
No. If we went out, if I took you guys outside to look at my Sonata, there's bullet holes in that car from when we were just along. Actually, I was driving. Katie was along for the ride.
Stop it.
Dang. Right. Are you out in the rural area, or are you in town?
I don't know why you're doing the retarded hand at me.
I am saying do not speak about the previous existence of your drug use.
That was either post-ish drug use.
Post-ish.
Rome isn't built in a day.
And neither was my sobriety. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. Exactly. So it was post-ish. Yeah. Anyways, I don't remember where we're at. Okay, the Freak. So you prayed and then God gave you a vision. So I can't do anything with
that. I know. It's awful.
Is it possible?
I did give you termination. I don't know if you looked into it, but
hold on. We shared an experience. We both believe that God has given us an experience, whether that experience is reality or the brain dying due to lack of freaking oxygen. I mean, whatever it is, we've had an experience. Can we agree on that point?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. In your experience, did it involve post-life activity?
I would say not necessarily. No.
Okay.
I would say probably.
I was left for dead on the side of the road. They left me. A group of people left me on the freaking sidewalk on a freaking driveway because I was dead.
This isn't a who saw God most.
No, I didn't see God. I never said I did. I said there were existences that I didn't understand. My point is, did you experience God?
Yes, it was God. I saw God.
Did he tell you anything?
Did he what? I'm sorry.
Did he say anything?
Yeah. Yes, he did. Actually, he was answering my prayer, basically.
Had you prayed to see God?
I was definitely praying to want to see God. Yes.
And then so what happened? Okay, so go talk me through it.
Basically, it was I had I needed to be forgiven for a lot of mistakes in my life, right? And so I was praying for God. I was wanting God. I needed forgiveness. I wanted to see God. I wanted to know it was true.
I'm not going to ask you to tell us the specifics. Was there a specific person or people you had done wrong to, or just generic, not feeling like you've done right?
Both probably. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, so I would always pray a lot. I forced myself to pray. Just, God, I need to see you. God, where are you? God, is this real? God, is it all for nothing? Where the hell are you? What's going on? I need forgiveness. I can't live with this. Help me get over this. All that stuff, everything.
Mm-hmm. What was the circumstances in your life at that time? Like, were you?
I was starting to build back up from some of the crap that I had done.
So you kind of hit bottom, and this was on your rebound.
Yeah, you could say that. I needed something to look forward to. I was going to find God or die trying.
Uh-huh. So, I'm sorry. Go on if there was more. Or I can't tell if you were done or if I interrupted you to ask that question.
I was going to find God or die trying. Basically, I needed a meaning for the life that we were in.
So what did God tell you?
He told me everything would be okay.
And how do you know that was God coming to you and not either? And I'm not trying to say this is a diminutive option. Actually, I think it would be an empowering option if you manifested that, right? How do you know that was external, that came to you instead of being produced by you?
Because I had no control whatsoever. He was in total control. When I'm dreaming, when I'm looking, let's just say, if you're tripping, if you're dreaming, you have some sort of measure of control. I had no control. He was in charge. He was running the whole reality.
Did you see Jesus or God or both?
Both.
I feel like you're.
Hold on, Dusty, before you go. Jesus or God or both. When you're dealing with the trifecta of God itself, it's the same thing.
Which is one of my issues with Christianity, which is why I think
I get that. And that's the only reason I popped up here, is to make the distinction that he's speaking of a personal experience with a feature, and you're speaking of the trifecta of God, the Spirit, the man.
Right. I asked it separately intentionally.
I know, but at the same time, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad.
No, it's fine. I asked, and I mean, I don't know if I was going to call you on it yet. I hadn't decided yet, but anyways.
Hey, can you remove both of our avatars and just look at the background?
Yeah, but they can't hear us.
Hold on, this can be done. Just give me a
exploding. That part where it explodes like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
that's what the Father looks like. That's God Himself, the source of the light, the source of everything, the center of everything. Okay, Jesus was standing in front of me and the Father, and He was shielding me, because if the light would have hit me, I would have disintegrated. Okay. And that's how I had the vision like that. Jesus was claiming me for one of His own. He said,
so this is one of the things I can kind of understand. I felt like if I had been rendered to be perceived entirely by the individual before me, it would have been a problem. But because they didn't consider me that much, it wasn't an issue. It was like, oh, you once existed and you might again, but okay. And they went on with what they were doing.
You mean it like in the vision or after near-death experience?
While I was dead.
If who had noticed you?
Something else.
Okay. Because that's actually kind of a common feature of near-death experiences is when is people encountering other entities or whatever that are kind of like surprised that they're like, what the fuck are you doing here?
But it's not the only other entity I've encountered.
So that would be my question then. How do you know that this God who presented himself to you, how do you know that he is who he says he is?
The God.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, sorry, I'll let you answer.
Because once I realized that it was him, I felt the love of God, and that is something nothing else could produce.
I mean, drugs can.
No,
not
sir.
Like this.
I've been on a lot of drugs. I will stand right here and tell you that no amount of drugs will give you the love of God.
What if it's Allah?
Right.
Even Allah. I've done a lot of drugs, bro.
No. Right. I'm pointing out though that like God is ambiguous enough and broad enough that it could fit a lot of different religions.
Sorry, you're doing this wrong. You're saying God. You mean gods.
No, I meant God.
No, because you say God, but if God's not that which I experienced and the freak experienced and you experienced and Samuel experienced, then it is one of the gods.
So I meant what I asked.
God, I hear what you're saying. I do understand.
God is big enough that description can fit a lot of different religions, right? So sure. Is there anything about if I just grant you that it was God, and I'll bring you back up in a second, if I could just grant that it's God, how do you know it's this God?
Because I felt the love of God, and it was tied to Jesus Christ.
How do you know?
Because they were there, and I felt the love of God.
Well, see, that's where I get hung up on it, man. Is that if take God as take it as a given that there's a plurality of them, and the reason that I say this is because even the Christian God never said there weren't other gods, not once. Right. If he is not the only one, if true? He is all powerful, then why could another not show up and say, hey, I'm him, and make him feel that he's him?
Only God can produce the love of God.
Hold on, freak. Dusty. God, in all of his scriptures and everything that he writes, mentions that he is the one and only, while at the same time admitting there are things outside. Those things outside are the things that Sam is mentioning.
Specifically, what he said, Sasquatch, was, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. He doesn't say there aren't other gods. He never denies their existence. He just says, I am first. I come first. Never take my name in vain. Never bow before their graven images. I am your God.
That actually, okay.
Right? Yeah, like argue with it all you want. You'll come to nothing.
Yeah, everything is under the authority of Jesus Christ. Yes.
But Jesus Christ is God and the trifecta of power. So anything that occurs beneath that trifecta is God and self-explanatory.
So I think that what I'm the perspective I'm drawing based on, well, mostly about the freak's experience because it's more defined, is that the definition is added after the fact or external the experience, right? You know it's God because this is what you believe in. So you've taken your experience and applied this lens to it, which is not unreasonable. but that also doesn't necessarily rule out that what you experienced was something other than the lens that you viewed it through. If that makes sense.
That is an amazing way to describe that.
I've been on drugs. I've hallucinated. I've had weird dreams. I took Paxil for a while.
Oh, me too, brother. It's nightmare fuel.
Oh, that's that stop smoking shit, isn't it? They gave you wild dreams.
Paxil was an SSRI back in the 90s.
Or something, anti-anxiety or something, and it's a
serotonin reuptake inhibitor.
Yeah, one of you guys has a delay. I think it's the freak.
Hold on. Paxil is so significant that the entire basis of Firefly was based off the concept that Paxil is a bad thing.
I was one of the test cases pre-FDA approval.
Really? You've been fucked up for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they put me on that shit when I was 11, man.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, the worst the worst.
So anyhow, I've seen like hallucinate. Paxil made me freak out worse than anything I've ever done, and I've done
dude,
shrooms,
Paxil is
typical, psychedelic, whatever.
No, not whatever. SSRI inhibitors are.
I know a difference between an altered state and being sober, and what I felt when I was before God.
I'm not saying that it was right. I do. Look, the experience I had meditating. Why do you keep doing that? What?
Please hold on. The experience you have with God is independent from your experience, and it's like a normal man. You can't expect Dusty to understand your concept of God without having experienced God at least once. This man is an avowed agnostic who has never had a miraculous event in his entire life. And you're trying to talk to him as if he might have had one and just doesn't realize it. Listen, please. Reality in this sense.
I still got germination on them, so I'm not worried. I have leverage. I'm good to go.
Take your leverage.
Huh? Yeah. What? I didn't hear that, but
okay.
Go ahead, Flow State.
That's not entirely accurate of me. I've experienced more things than I lead with. I just also recognize the shortcomings in our own interpretation of things. And so that's really what I'm trying to sift out is how do you know the thing that, because so when I was in jail, I learned to meditate, right? Like those, the jail I was at was 24/7 lockdown. You never left the cell unless you had court. It was, they had fluorescent lights blaring constantly. They never even dimmed them. And I was in an 8-man cell. So the only place that I taught myself to meditate because that was the only way I could get any sort of privacy and sanity. When I got out and I was in rehab, the first time that I was able to meditate with earbuds in, I listened to, actually I'll drop the link in the main chat, this song that I'm about to drop the link to. And that time it was wild. It was not like a drug state. It was, I don't know what it was, but I don't know what it was. But I know that the things I went and did, I didn't actually do in reality.
Okay. You said, was this at a point when you were in solitary confinement or something? Is that what you said?
No, it happened after.
Away from other people.
I was in rehab, so I didn't have a lot. I wasn't necessarily in a private, quiet place, but I was in our bedroom. Nobody else was in the room with me, and I was laying in my bunk, and I had earbuds in, and I was listening to this song. That, anyways, the song actually that I put the link to just now. It was recommended to me by my counselor in rehab as something to listen to while you meditate. It's just got kind of that. It doesn't have rhythm. It's just kind of transcendent or whatever it is. But anyways. My point is that I get it, right? Like that was an experience that I'm not going to go into, but in it, I went around and I did things, And actually, I resolved some baggage that I was carrying around once it was over. Basically, I went and fixed problems in a meditative state.
Sort of like that one movie with Julia Roberts, and he used to record the girls, and they were all doctors.
I don't know the movie.
Fixed. That's 13 Ghosts.
They would play death, like who would die for the longest amount of time.
Wait a second.
Flatliners.
I have an issue. Flatliners. You're correct.
That's it. So you had kind of a Flatliners experience where you saw some dark things and you resolved some things. And
I have an issue with this. I have a problem.
You've said hold on every time anybody's talked at all for like 20 minutes. I'm
sorry. I'll go away.
I mean, what is it though? I hope it's good. Okay, or you can pout. It was, I don't know the movie, but it was what am I looking for? Like I didn't actually change anything in the present. I just sort of resolved some baggage I was dragging around. So
right. But you were not anywhere near death. You were just in like a halfway state between something and something else that you
I was meditating.
Right.
I was almost closer to astral projection, really.
Yeah, meditation is an altered state. It's a state that you achieve consciously, though usually without the help of outside influences like drugs or that sort of thing. But it's a very real thing, and there's some. Like, how prayer can really help people, like psychosomatically, like it can cause them to, like, you pray over somebody to get well or whatever, it can cause them to repair themselves internally, right? Meditation has similar properties. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Most of it's biometric. Most of it is psychosomatic. Most of it is very mind over mattery, like those Tibetan monks who can slow their heartbeat down to like 1 beat a minute or whatever, or raise their body temperatures at will, that kind of thing. And none of that is outside of the realm of human physical possibility. It just takes training your mind a certain way. Meditation is along those lines.
Sure. So, I mean, I guess that's my point, is that was experientially, that was wild, but I don't claim to, I'm not making bigger claims out of it than I have the capacity to make. I think that religion does, and Christians, I'm not trying to shit on you, you're just the representative here. Christians do. Actually, all religious people do. But what I do know is that Christianity specifically, at least, is against lying. So I know that for Christianity, the claims that Christians make conflict with the religious beliefs. So how do you square that circle, or how would you square that circle if you have a square for it? I mean, let me clarify. I'm not saying you didn't have your experience or that you're wrong about it. I can't know that. Only you can, because only you had that experience. But nevertheless, the phenomenon does occur all the time, right? So,
well, if you're talking about the hypocrisy of the church and the religion, that's definitely something. But when it comes to
talking about individuals,
when you're talking about the truth of what is kind of lost in that hypocrisy is you have to believe if God raised him from the dead or not. Once you can pass that barrier in the mind, then you will receive the Holy Spirit, basically.
Right. So that's that's a huge issue. And this is why I think that religion is such a perfect brainwashing tool. If you can convince somebody, if you can train somebody to believe in things that are on their face self-contradicting, like a pregnant virgin, somebody who died but isn't alive, and the Trinity, where there's 3 gods that are but one God, right? If you can get somebody to deny math like that, you can convince them anything. They are well trained in self-deception. So what you're telling me is that I have to deceive myself before I have to convince myself of something that I don't believe for good reason, and then at that point, God will reveal himself to me or whatever. And I'm saying that's bullshit. Why would anybody engage in such a behavior?
Well, there's so much there, but I think I'll just take the last thing what you said. At a certain point in your life, you want to know what the hell is it all for? What am I working for? What am I being a dickhead for? What am I, whatever for, right? What the hell is the meaning of this, whatever, right? And at that point, I think when we come to that point, these are the things that, like, the Christian God and Christianity answer.
Okay, I can accept that. But also point out that that's then again. So my answer to that, my belief, I guess, would be that in this regard, this is where one of the ways that we would be, say, created in God's image, which I believe is metaphorical, but you could take it literal, is that I think that we get to choose the meaning. I do think that people need meaning in life, right? What is it? Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, right? Like, it's obvious that these sort of things are essential for human psychology, but I think that it's our choice what it is that matters or means something. And I think that you chose religion. I think lots of people choose religion, but it is something bigger than us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're really, you're real specific. Like, your use of language is actually pretty, like, razor friggin' on point. So you pack in a lot with what you say. So, like, there was so much there. Like, I don't even know how to answer what you were asking if you were asking anything.
Yeah. So, well, I grew up where you had to be concise, or else people stop paying attention.
I hear you.
But
I mean,
hold on, I'll let you stew on that for a second. Palomino Ricky Z says, "What about chakra awakenings? It sounds like that's what he's describing, in my opinion, sorta." Are you asking this because you've heard my chakra awakening story, or is that something else entirely? Or you got any thoughts, Samuel?
Yeah, well, as far as what you experienced, I really can't. I can't really relate to what happened to you. I think I could try to picture it, but I would be able to say that I understand Sasquatch's experience a lot better, because that, I believe, was more in the actual spirit realm, and yours could have been in somewhere else. But I'm not sure, so I really can't say.
Somewhere else,
like, somewhere between this realm, spirit realm, dream realm, vibration, music, ear bone realm, something like that.
That's an interesting way to put that.
Palomino, no, have not heard. So yeah, no, that's all right. Well, that was a good hit. So another thing that I did while I was in jail, and I mentioned earlier in the stream, if you were here, that the last time I got arrested, I called my mom, and the call of shame to your mom to say you're back in jail is not really always a great one. But she had been sending me books, spiritual books and shit, and I hadn't read them. But I told her, while I'm stuck in jail till sentencing is over. So for a while, it ended up being about 3.5 more months. But I told her that whatever she wanted to send me, I'd read it. And one of the things she sent me was a book just a little book on the chakras, but it had instructions on how to awaken your chakras. And you start at the lowest one and you send to the highest one. Mm-hmm. And the way that you're supposed to awaken your root chakra, the lowest one, is stand up, put your hands on your hips, and I don't remember the exact number. It was like 60. You swivel your hips like 60 times one direction and 60 times the other direction or something. Kind of a goofy ritual.
It seems like a lot of extra work. There's a way to do that through meditation. You don't have to actually get up and do that.
I don't even know what awakening your chakras mean, but I figure, all right, so I'm curious about this. I'll try awakening my chakras, but this is a weird look, and I'm in here with 7 other dudes. So I waited until like 4 a.m. or something when like everybody was as asleep as they were going to get. And I walked over to the far side away from the bunks, which is right in front of the bean hole. If you know what a bean hole is, it's the little sliding slot that you can look into a cell through. And so I'm standing over far away from the bunks, and I start swiveling my hips, and I'm awakening this fucking chakra. right when the guard starts doing rounds. So I'm standing there looking straight at the beanhole, and it slides open, and the night shift guard is looking at me, and we lock eyes. And I don't know anything about chakras, and I don't know what happens if you half awaken a chakra and then stop. I don't know, like, is a black hole gonna rip open in space? So I just powered through, and I continued swiveling my hips and staring at him, and he'd never said a word. Neither of us said a word. We just held eye contact for about 5 seconds, which felt like 5 minutes. And then he shut the beanhole and he kept on walking, and it never was discussed ever. But yeah, I didn't awaken the rest of them. After that, I was like, you know what? I got one chakra awake. The rest of them can fuck off. This is not the place for that shit.
I think you said, I thought you were going to tell us that you had an orgasm or something. Thank God.
It's like a spiritual orgasm, supposedly.
I'm just kidding, man.
It was like this. Where the fuck did it go? No, well,
I've had non-sexual orgasms within my body, pleasures that I didn't know were possible.
I'm so happy right now that that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, it was a little weird, and but whatever. That guard never spoke about it. That guard had a particular vendetta against our cell. He knew that we were up to something. So my bunk there was a blind spot in the cell, and my bunk was right by it. And that blind spot, we also had a guy in the cell who was a tattoo artist, and he spent a lot of time huddled in the corner of the camera blind spot in the cell doing tattoos. And this guard knew that something was up. He didn't know what it was. He'd toss every time that our cell got tossed. He'd throw. The toilets in that place could suck the air out of the room. So we just flushed the tattoo kits. But yeah, he was on a vendetta to get us around that time. He never did, by the way.
Holy crap! I was watching the chat, dude. I didn't even hear anything you were saying.
Oh wow!
I'm so sorry. It's like it's kind of late, and I took a hit of weed earlier, so I'm a little zoned out.
I was just talking about the first time I met your mom and I fucked her.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. Right. But man.
Well, who was scared? So, is there anybody in the chat who has a particular take or claim that they feel like they want to run by? Awesome. Damn. I know that was a little bit scathing. I retract it, to freak. I've never met your mom. I'm sure she's a wonderful lady. My subconscious was listening. So an interesting thing is, at that time, they, since my bunk was right by the blind spot, I was kind of the closest thing to look out, which when you're in a cinder block room with no windows and a steel door, you don't have anything to look out at, right? So it's kind of a joke of a position. But somehow I was like, and I don't know if I could hear something, you can hear, if you've ever been to jail, that sort of bzz, clunk, right, of the electronic doors, right? They got the buzz of the, electricity hitting the bolt, and then the clunk, and then you can hear the metal bolts go up and down. You can hear that pretty clearly throughout jail, especially once you've been there a minute, you pick it up. But yes, knowing that the CEOs started getting sneaky, and they would buzz that door and then just leave it kind of ajar, right? The main door from the guard station into the jail area, right? There's a door there. There's a door between the individual cells in the hallway. They leave that door ajar so that when they did the rounds to try to catch us, we wouldn't hear that. But somehow I was still able to pick up and give warnings. I'd be like, stop tattooing now. And I was actually right on frequently. which is weird. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Let's see. So I asked a question. I wasn't really looking at the chat. Does anybody have a perspective or experience?
Am I still here?
You are still here. Sasquatch was here, and then Sasquatch dipped. I feel like I was mean to Sasquatch, and he bolted.
I was timing out there for a while, so
you know what? I absorbed his chakra. It was the same guard. Of course, he was one of the main, one of the main guys. But it was him. I absorbed his chakra. Huh? I hope not. That dude was a weirdo. You have to be kind of a weirdo to want to be like, and he was one of those guards who's like not a cop, but really like has too much ambition for what he's doing. You're bringing bologna sandwiches to dudes who are locked in a cage. Just relax, guy. Justin. You're right. Thank you for pointing this out. A door can't be ajar. It's a door.
That's fair enough.
Well, what do you think? Put your channel link backstage. I want so that I can put it in the main chat.
Oh yeah. Give me a second. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I gotta get going soon here myself. Sasquatch is asking me to stick around for another 20 minutes. So.
You're welcome to do whatever. If you've got to go, you're welcome to come back. I don't know how late I'll be here tonight, but I did just drop the link to open the panel up. If anybody has any thoughts they want to pop off, but don't want to aren't confident enough in them to claim oh yeah, I got this thing, and then it's nothing. So I do open panels almost damn near every day. Although, you know what? You fuckers haven't contributed much this round. Motherfuckers. Where's my clip?
Yeah, I'll hang out a little bit for Squatch.
Right? Just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
The only time I ever heard that, because I don't watch It's Only Sunny, so the only time I've ever heard that is when Squatch comes onto my panel and he starts saying to the chat, "Money me, money now." So I just thought that was from him.
From who?
From Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, no, okay, that's where he got. I heard you say that, and I was like, oh, he must watch more than I was aware, but no, it's affected people. Mr. What's good?
How's it going? Just on my break, thought I'd drop in, taking a break from my side project. I was enjoying the content. Yeah,
I like side projects. I like lots of projects and side hustles.
Yeah, well, it's social media related, but it's been a little tough, So, but anyway, I thought I'd come up and just be like, give my stance a little bit. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? Well, maybe there is, depending on how you view it. But
if you have a stupid view, I'll probably push on it. But no, there's not. I don't have a right answer.
Right. I mean, the idea is that one, how could one person know better than another? I don't make that claim. And even though I'm a Christian, I don't want to go, we're the right ones. I don't like doing that. What I just say is, I hope everyone finds their path. That's it. And I don't want to block the door to heaven. But, one thing I find interesting, because I grew up in a Wiccan household, and then I converted, is that these Gnostic people, the ones that are like, your mind controls everything. And I'm not saying it's false. I really do think that your mind can produce things. But, having seen something supernatural in front of me that I know because other people saw it, that, you know, it can't be your mind. And my only point is that, you know, people have told me, they're like, oh, well, a collective could think of something and produce it in front of you. And I'm like, maybe, you know, I don't even disagree with that. But, you know, I've seen it myself. Right. Like if you have multiple people witnessing something miraculous, and when you see something like that, it's like your brain can't comprehend what's in front of you. Like you take your hands and you rub your eyeballs. It's like you have blinders on and you're trying to adjust. Like every one of us had the same reaction. We're like looking at each other, and it was like we had like dust in our eyes.
I think that you've told me this before. Can you be more specific?
Yeah. So, you know, and I'm not discrediting Sasquatch's take, because I think it could be accurate in some senses of like groups needing rituals or whatever.
I wish that he would be. That was actually Samuel, but I wish that Sasquatch would come back. I feel like I hurt his feelings.
Yeah, he's all right. He's fine. But you know, so what happened was it was a haunted place, like I'd mentioned before, and I was in a really shitty part of, you know, my life. Not that I haven't had worst experiences afterwards, but my stance is that, you know, our experience here is different for everyone individually, in that we're all in a spiritual battle, essentially. When I was there, I attempted to do one of these rituals, you know, that I'd been taught when I was a kid. And I showed you that book. And some people laughed at it, and it's fine. That's the reason I got kicked out of a confessional at Catholic church. I went there and I told them, I said, I really did something bad. And they're like, what did you do? Did you cheat on your wife? And I was like, I may have summoned something. I was 26. So it was kind of recent, you know, but yeah, it was crazy. I got kicked out of a confessional.
You don't have to be specific. How old-ish are you now?
I am 41. So it was, you know, recent for me or whatever. But after, you know, that happened, we were like, I was like, oh shit, you know, it didn't really work. And then we're like a group of us. One of them's a Native American. Well, actually, two of them were Native American. I don't want to dox them.
That's extra spiritual points if you've got a Native American with you.
Right. So we're leaving this place, and well, we're trying to, and it feels like we're getting lost, like we're trapped, because we keep going in circles. And then weird shit started happening after that. Like, there was, and it was an evil place, right? Like there was like Celtic symbols in a place that there shouldn't be. You know, it looked pretty evil. One guy, there was a painting on a wall of a gingerbread man on a swing, and someone didn't feel good and just happened to like lean back and sit against the wall. Didn't even see what he was doing, and was like sitting right in the picture of the swing. And I'm like, this is kind of weird. And then, you know, as we're walking, things start getting worse. Like, we're opening the bushes into this hotel place, and you hear like these crazy footsteps, like
a skittering.
Like, yeah, like running right up behind you. And we're like, what the fuck? You know, so we start trying to facilitate things, and we're coming up this walkway, and you know, these are military people. I look to the left, and I see these red eyes, right? And that's just the way I describe them. But really, what they look like are bubbling lava and fluorescence. And I look to the left and the right of me, and this is what I said before about, you know, you can't understand it. Like your eyes don't. It's not supposed to happen. The other two do the same exact thing I do, and they're like rubbing their eyes, and they go, "What the hell is that?" And then there's a guy there who was like kind of a nerdy type, and he's like, "That is not an anaconda. That is not a snake. That is not a an animal." That because like when you're looking at it, right? If I could verbalize the picture, it's like a like you know how moon has light in dark.
Yeah.
On like certain days or whatever. So it's coming through and it's shining, the moonlight's coming through onto the ground because there's no electricity in this place, which is obviously makes the shit even more creepy. But there's a shadow there. It's like probably like 6 feet, 2 inches, I want to say, and that's how tall this thing was. And my friends are like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And we're all like frozen, like, because it's like, you got this reaction, kind of like when you see a horrible movie where you're like, hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and it like says something to me in my mind, and I like, because I was the one that I believe I was the one that unleashed it, and I was like, "Did you guys hear that?" And they go, "No," and it's like it says to me in a voice that sounds like it's multiple voices at the same time. It says like, "We're watching you," and I'm like, "Oh shit!"
It sounds like a warning.
Right, and I mean, things get a lot worse after that, and I don't want to really like scare anybody, but point being is,
did it follow you out of there?
Yeah. Well,
Did you get being the idiot still hanging around?
Well, what the interesting thing is, after running into that again, because I'm an idiot and it wasn't enough, it's like I had to satisfy my own curiosity. Walking around, you see these like, I've shown videos of this on other channels, like the place, but I've seen pictures of what I thought that thing was that maybe other people had seen, because there was pictures up of like, people do like graffiti and shit, and they're like spraying it on walls. Well, one of them was, excuse me, a picture of this random thing with these eyes, and I was like, maybe they saw it. Holy shit, But that place was, it had some bad mojo, like really bad.
There are a few places like that scattered around the world, really, but yeah, I've seen some shit like that myself in certain places. It's almost like the space between worlds is much shorter in those places.
Right. Well, that was, it was very dark. I'll just leave it at that. And like I said,
you said the other people that were there. Did everybody participate in the ritual?
No.
So there's people there that saw it that had not participated.
Yes, correct. Yep. 2 of them came with us. Well, then what happened was, they like, women were with us the second time, and they broke down and they were having panic attacks afterwards because they lost their shit. Like they were yeah.
So you went back again, and it follows you around out of there. But I if you answered, I missed it. Is it you still got that demon on you, or whatever it was, or is that done?
I don't know. It tried to make a deal with me. Like yeah, I don't want to, like, I don't like really talking about it because it scares people. But so basically what happened was, yeah. Well, I'll give a little bit, but then I've read about this too, about how I've researched that there are like into demonology and that kind of thing, but they talk about a wind And what happened before I had the second encounter was a giant wind came over like the area that somehow blew through a place it wasn't supposed to blow through. And then I looked up and I wasn't like on anything. I wasn't drinking, nothing like that. I looked up and everything went white. And then basically in a state of like you know, it's hard to explain, but I was not in the same place I was in. And then I was in this like a abyss type thing where I saw it, the thing, and it was talking to me. And then when I didn't agree with it, it attacked me pretty much. Because I knew I was in over my head. I was like, oh shit, this is not good. You know, if I make a deal with this thing, you know, I felt like I was crossing a line. Like
was it an enticing offer?
Well, it asked me what I wanted. You know, money, power, or whatever, and I said I was like I'm already a miserable person. I'm like there's you know that none of that stuff can help me. So afterwards, and I've seen videos on this, like I've kind of like researched into it or whatever, but you know, where people, and I've waited to see if they were having legit experiences or not. Like part of it, you know, like I had a conversation with Jack and I asked him, I was like, do you think we're in a spiritual warfare? And I thought, you know, I don't wish harm upon anybody, you know. I just, some people just can't see it, you know, what's happening out there. Oh yeah, 100%.
No,
yeah, I'm not.
Was your response that you just want an awesome live stream to listen to at night? Is this what you bargained for?
Oh, that price gonna be steep.
Well, you know what? Ask for a big favor, you gotta pay a big price.
Yeah. I do got to get out of here though. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for joining and come by anytime. Here, I'm dropping his link in the front chat for those of you. Oh, no, that link didn't work.
Oh, it didn't?
I know why. I got it.
Yeah, I'll throw up a dono when I get down. I just, you know, like the only thing that bothers me about it, because I want everyone to follow their own path and come to things the way that they, you know, on their own accord, because I feel like if I attack somebody's identity, then I'm not really going after the heart of the problem. Because I know, you know, when we were looking at that book that I used, Dusty, there was another channel that had a breakdown of it and said that there was like they were small hat Kabbalah is what they said, and how each person has a bunch of spirits around them, doesn't know it. But
you buy that, like that's in line with your beliefs.
Yeah, 100%. I think realms exist because, you know, when I had my experience, I was talking this thing and it wasn't in front of me. Like I was definitely in my head, I was somewhere else. And what it had been occurring on the outside was something completely different. And then when I talked to my brother about it, he reminded me of, and this is the thing, you know, I have to make this caveat about the Bible. You know, I don't claim to know if the Bible is 100% correct or not, but I do know that there's some, you know, what do they call that? Validity to some of it. The part where Jesus was in exile and encountered Satan in the desert or whatever, and then says like, you know, if you really are the Son of God, jump off this mountain. When I had my, you know, little experience, they were telling me that we were all close to dying because we were all, almost falling off this mountain for certain reasons. So there was like, parallels there. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, fair enough. All right, I'm going to take off. Again, thanks for having me. Nice to meet you, Mr. And have a great night, everybody.
Anytime. Thank you for joining. And I just dropped his link in the main chat. Send up to him. Take it easy.
Yeah.
So there's what's his name? Oh my God! Somebody in the chat, help me out with the. He's a psychiatrist who dealt with a lot of schizophrenics. Hold on a second. I've got a video on Flow State. I talked to the dude on Nachikota's channel, if you know Nachikota, and he walked me through I don't know what you'd call it, a practice sort of to deal with trauma, but what's his fucking name? But anyways, this is a doctor who worked with a lot of Jerry Marzinski. You ever heard of Jerry Marzinski?
No.
All right, I'll put his link in the chat too. Now, this guy's a psychiatrist. He worked, like I said, with a lot of schizophrenics and shit. He worked in prisons and mental institutions, and he's come to a conclusion that schizophrenics are not just like hearing voices, that like they're not just fantasizing things, that there's actually some reality to it, because they got there because the schizophrenics there was a consistent theme and narrative amongst the entities or the voices or the shadow, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that schizophrenics would experience. And one of them was that they were frequently encouraging people to harm themselves. So wow. He doesn't go as far as to claim that they're demons or anything like that, but his belief is that they are energetic entities that basically eat our loosh, like negative emotions and shit, which is
wow. That's
at first
pretty wild.
At first glance, it sounds ridiculous, but then when you realize how many people are emotional vampires as well, right? It's like, you know what? Okay, I kind of get off on that loosh too.
Yeah, no, so I hear you.
Your mom, you said you were raised in a Wiccan household. When you did this shit, did you go like, "Hey, mom, what do I do?"
Oh, well, I mean, I was taken away when I was younger. I was raised in a very savage family. Like when I was 3, my father threw me into the ocean and was like, "You got to learn to swim," because it's just the way of the world. But my mother, she was a gypsy, and she would teach us things. And my father would come home, see what was happening, and bad things would ensue. But so
my first. Was she my first? Anyway, yeah, the girl who gave me my first blowjob. How about that? She, her mom was a witch, and yeah, they were a crazy family too. I don't know. Yeah, those people are into wild shit. I don't pretend to understand it. I try not to.
My grandmother, she really, I don't scare easy anymore. But my grandmother, like, I'm not afraid of women or anything like that, but she was creepy. Like, she had holy shit. She had this death stare. She had like white hazel eyes, and she was my mom's mom or whatever, but she was very she has the same, glib personality I do, where I don't like to speak in emotional term, like, oh, F this and whatever. I'm kind of, I try to be factual when I speak, but
you're emotionally cauterized. Welcome to psychopathy, sir. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yep.
she was, but I do remember, you know, when I was younger, seeing them fight, my family or whatever, and it was a big no to touch a woman in my family. Like you don't do that, and unfortunately, sometimes the women would take advantage.
Yeah,
Uh,
that happens when
I-
you've got absolute protection or whatever. You know,
she would
My-
throw plates at my father's head. You know, we would just laugh about it.
my my grandma, now my dad's mom is what I'm referring to, was I wouldn't say scary, that's the wrong word, but she was definitely mean. she's the only one who sent me a letter to jail to say, why are you fucked up? If you'd read the Bible more when you were a kid, like I told you to, you wouldn't be fucked up like this. God damn it, Grandma.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was the black sheep. So, like, because my father was, they had 9 brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and you know, one of them married a Jewish woman, which was a huge no. You know, one of them was an actor. I don't really want to dox him, but he's in it. You know, he's done some things, and he kind of bats for the other team. And they would get together and they'd be like, "Oh, let's say grace," and I'd be like I'd be the idiot at the table to be like, just start eating and put my foot up, you know. My brothers were very straight laced. They're both police, you know. Yeah, one was a detective, one's a sergeant. I was perfect for military work though. Like I was, and then afterwards I attempted to go into the police force, but I was too honest. I think looking back on it,
you failed your evaluation.
Yeah, like I told them straight up. I was like, they're like, what? You know, I scored very high marks, right? But then when I got to the portion where I didn't understand that sometimes it's not about what you want to say, it's about what they want to hear. And even in the military, I was never like that. Like when I was in charge of a group after, you know, I was in 11 years or whatever, and when I was put in charge, I was immediately taken out of charge because I spoke the truth in front of the wrong people. Like I was like, don't be like these guys over here, your leaders that, you know, they want you to not run around sleeping with women, but then magically they're in their barracks rooms doing what they're saying not to do. I was like, don't do that, you know.
Well,
they were like, never again will you be in charge. They told.
Yeah. My you probably heard me say this before. When I was in jail, I wanted to be a trustee and the jail administrator. After I wrote him letter, right? Because that's how you get to be. You got to write a letter to the jail administrator. He finally came back because I'd been bugging him. He goes, and he called me by my last name. He goes, bah, you're never gonna be a trustee in my jail. I said, why? And he goes, you're too disagreeable. And I said, I said, you're right, which I thought was clever as fuck. But I don't think his dumbass got it.
Yeah, well, I didn't know at the time. They want yes men. They want men that will just go. And I do defend the police because they have a tough job. But if the training isn't right, the training has to be right, and you got to have the right mentality. Otherwise, it's whatever. But that's
being a piece of shit. Now, I will concede that they do have a tough job. I couldn't do it. They're constantly dealing with the worst people at the worst. But that doesn't negate the fact that you've got a huge percentage of them who take the job for the authority, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair, absolutely. But I'm talking about, see, the low tier stuff. That's kind of, you know, when you have to move, logistics, that kind of thing. I don't mean like that. I mean when there's like hardcore shit going down. That's when you know that stuff gets exposed. and I've seen examples, but going back to the test or whatever, I was just like, look, if I have a job to do, I'm going to do the job, and they're like, well, what if they tell you this? And I'm like, because I was always trained that there's a harm threshold and there's identify a threat and eliminate the threat. I wasn't, so
harm threshold, is that like how much collateral damage is acceptable?
Yeah, right. It logistically taking into account everything and then being like, I mean, in my purview, I would have made a great cop because I wouldn't have been like, let's just fucking mow these bastards down or whatever, But I told them, I go, if that's what it takes, unfortunately,
So
like, what are you gonna do?
Were you too like fuck people, get the bitch done, or were you not enough like that for the police? Like what? I don't know if you want to tell this, but what specific? How did you not pass it? Like what about your personality didn't work?
I was not agreeable enough for the command. That's what it was.
That's why we get along.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a Big Five personality type test? You know the Big Five? Okay. No, well, when I took mine, I was in the 99th percentile of most disagreeable people. So I'm 1%er, baby.
Yeah.
And actually, when I got a jail, or I'm sorry, not jail. When I got out of college, I graduated with an economics degree in 2009, which was not a great year to graduate with an economics degree. And I had a pregnant girlfriend. So, anyways, one of the jobs I applied for was a prison guard. Actually, it was jail, county jail. But it was a guard job, and they liked me. Enough so that I did a shadow shift where I follow them around and see what's going on before I'd even gotten through the hiring process. I did not get the job because, well, I did lie on my test, and I lied about something that I shouldn't lie about because it's verifiable, right? Like I told them I'd never been arrested, and then, well,
you skipped out. I don't mean to interrupt you. You skipped out for a second. Could you rewind that? Like,
yeah, I lied. So you were too honest on your thing. I was too dishonest, and I told them that I had never been arrested, but I had been arrested once when I was 15, and that was the wrong call. And they just, anyways, I didn't get the job. But
yeah, that's wild.
Let me do a couple super chats. Snow Fire with $5. Thank you, ma'am. And she says, "Sparkle, heart, sparkle."
Game's over, losers. I have all the money. Compare your lives to mine and then kill yourselves.
And then Lobster 2.0. So this is the lobster that took Jordan Peterson's advice and cleaned his room up. After you clean your room up, you get to be Lobster 2.0. It's a great evolution. Member for a month. Thank you for the membership. All right. So it's interesting that you don't butter the biscuit at all. So don't you think rationally, though, that's a miscalculation rationally to not recognize the influence that emotions and sentiment and how people feel plays on how they behave?
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to being in a position of authority, you have to take it out of certain situations. Some people can't do it. I saw a video recently, and I was like, I felt bad for everyone involved. I think CT covered it, but there was a pew pew in Florida, and I think the cop was a rookie, and they went to this guy's house. I think it was in Florida, and he wasn't the owner of the establishment. Like he wasn't the owner of the house, and he what did he do? I can't remember the exact crime, but it was like he said he wasn't the person he really was. They identified him properly as a like, I don't know if he was a squatter or if he was just running or whatever. But anyway, I think 4 or 5 of them showed up, and the guy was pretty big, and they were like, you know, we know this is your name. Please show us some ID. The guy starts flipping out in a panic, right? Flailing, throwing shit. He's like, F you pigs, all this, right? Now, was there might have been one sergeant there, I think. I don't remember the video. So don't take every word I'm saying as legit. You know, just go look at it if you want to. But yeah, well, the point is so this obvious rookie, the guy charges at him, right? What I mean by like harm threshold and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to inflict the minimum amount of damage I can do and still get the job done. That's the way I look at it. So the guy charges at him, and maybe he's like half a foot taller than this kid. But you have 4 other, officers to help you. The guy opens fire or, pew pew on the assailant or whatever, and he starts having a panic attack. The kid, he's like, "Oh, I can't believe I did that." He's like losing his shit. Meanwhile, the guy's like, bleeding out or whatever, and they're calling an ambulance, and they're like, "Oh, fuck," those kinds of incidents I look at, and I don't like playing the whole identity thing. So it's not really about who's who or whatever, but the point is, if I'm properly trained and I was in that position, I would have engaged him in a fight before I opened, pew pew or whatever. I wouldn't have done that. I would have been like, all right, let's go, and I would have.
Oh shit! I'm not wearing my hat. I'm an Foundational Black American now, right?
Right.
Right.
That's the best. Love that. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So, man, what a tragedy that shit is. You don't know if that guy has a kid, family, even himself. I mean, But then you look at the.
Have you ever had a gun pointed at you? You ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it a cop or not a cop? I mean, I guess
not a cop.
So, when somebody points a gun at you, like, and if you can look in the person's eyes, right? Like, that moment of eye contact, whether or not that person wants to shoot you, right? Some people, like, especially if somebody panics and pulls a gun and aims it at you, I don't know if that was the case or not. The panic the fear in their eyes, you can see it. They don't want you to call their bluff. They don't want you to call their bluff. They don't want you to call their bluff. People who do want you to call a bluff, who want a reason, they have a different look. And in my experience,
oh yeah,
it's only cops. So people who are not cops are basically they never want to do it. That's a big ass. Even if you're the coldest motherfucker on earth, that's a big ass headache. Now you got to worry about. Cops don't have that, and half those motherfuckers want you to give them a reason to be a hero.
Yeah, well, there are some good ones. I bet a lot of really good ones. They talk to people. They want to engage and everything like that. But then you got some that are just like I don't know. See, I don't know if it's an ego thing or whatever, but
So I just if somebody is pointing a gun at you, it means they're willing to pull the trigger. I disagree with that. That's not actually true. Although functionally, you should just treat it like it's true. Yeah, that's the right way to behave, but it's not actually an accurate statement.
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I went into a bad place, which now I try not to do those things, but. And I was like, oh, let's, to my friends, we were all partying, and they're like, you're going to go into that part of town? And I'm like, yeah, really didn't give a shit, and I'm talking to these people, and they're waving their pews around like it's nothing. And this big, mamma jamma woman reaches her head out the window and she's like, "Oh, hey, sugar, you want to come up here and give me a good time?" I'm like, "Oh, geez, no thanks." I'm like, "I'm just here for what I need."
Say it like that. Did you say it like that?
I was like, "No thanks, I'm good." I knew. I was like, all I got to do is find some kid with a, he looks young. He's driving a BMW, and he's got some 304 in his, seat or whatever. That's exactly what I did. I got what I needed.
When I first moved, so the town that I got hemmed up in, it was a small town, like not like tiny, but like small compared to Kansas City. When I first got there was a guy he's in prison now, but he was the main dealer for the town, and it was so easy to tell. I pointed out to this was when I was still with my ex-wife. We passed him, and going into the smoke shop, and he was coming out, and I said to my ex-wife, I said, there's the town drug dealer. Just sort of joking, but I found out later that actually he definitely was, actually, because it's Katie's older sister's ex-husband. Is definitely
you could tell.
Yeah,
right.
I could tell by his car. I don't remember what it was even, but I made that determination before I actually even saw him. But yeah, you could tell afterwards. Young, not like a kid, but like a young man in his late 20s, early 30s, walking around like he's the hottest shit on the block, that sort of thing. He's doing 15 now.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean,
in his house before, so they renovated the jail there before, shortly before I moved to town, but somehow he'd managed to get a hold of the jail doors, and some reinforcing bars and stuff from the old jail. So when they raided his house the last time, he had all that jail hardware installed. They had a hell of a time getting into his house.
Yeah, I've seen some things like on the opposite end too. Like I've seen them kick in doors. Many videos like that. But one of them that kind of made me laugh was they were taking one guy away, and they're like, "Well, I'll go easy on you if you do a rap for us." And the guy's like, he's like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and now I'm here in the back of this Chevy going to the bookings. I'm like, "Oh."
Do you know? I bet they didn't make it on his word. There's no way.
What's that?
I bet they didn't make it on their word. There's to take it easy on him.
Oh yeah, they were. Like I said, yeah, they were. But I mean, I've met some. There's some good ones out there, definitely.
I philosophically don't think it's possible to be a good person and be a cop at the same time, because you're a moral prostitute. You are using violence to enforce someone else's rules, whether or not you agree with them. So let me rephrase that. It is possible, hypothetically, that you actually agree with all the laws you enforce. However, it is probable that that's not the case, and that you've arrested somebody that for something you think should be allowed, in which case you now have, I think you're a moral prostitute.
Yeah, I could see how someone could have that view, definitely, because as much as we like to pretend the laws are applied equally, the more we dive into some of the debates that are going on, the news of today and all that shit, the more we see that it's not really applied equally across the that's why when I had my little convo with Paul, and he's like, "Oh, the states don't make laws."
I never saw it.
Oh man, that was an interesting conversation because I went on and I like OTW, but when we went on there, I'm like, I'm not really trying to have a debate. I'm just trying to talk to Jack because the first time I had a combo with Jack, I never got to get an answer on the. That's why I was in the stream earlier today, just chatting with the benevolent socialism topic or whatever that you guys were in there. And I tried to ask him, what his plans are, and we're at OTW's, and OTW opens up the panel, so I go up there. 5 minutes later, we're in a full blown debate with like 8 people, and I'm just trying to talk to Jack, and then Paul's like coming in, starting to say some shit. You know how he likes to do things, like talks out of both sides of his mouth. Where like I try to stay in the background a lot unless I have something to say, then I'll come up. I don't like going on panels often. But what's interesting about Paul is I noticed with your interactions with him, the few that I've seen, he'll do things like go, well, really, you have no moral high ground. You're a POS and you're this, whatever. And then you respond to him, and then he goes, I'm trying to change. I'm trying to be a better guy. Like, why are you coming at me? It's like, do you not see it? Like, you just went at him.
He doesn't. I don't think he sees it. Do you think he sees it? I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he sees it. I really don't. Yeah. I think he has himself trained like these air quotes life coaches that just spew shit, and they have what I like to call filler words to make them sound a certain way, and then they'll add something in between, and that's the message they're really trying to get out, but they forget in their head, like, oh shit, I just contradicted myself with a filler.
Yeah, he's got, and I don't think this is intentional. I think it's I think he's just developed this habit over time, though. But he has a ritual, so I'm sure that you joining is the reason he came in. He always wanted to keep OTW and Jack, well, everybody basically, but those two were the most active under his thumb. But he has a ritual that he goes through with new people he meets, where he meets them and then he just lays into them. And if you've got a spouse and you'll bring her on, he'll go at them. And it's like a way of thinning out people who will take your shit and people who won't take your shit. And so the people that are left over after that initiation process generally are the ones who will, you've established as president of there is no boundaries. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. Very few people, most people then just fuck off, like, fuck this dude, which is the smart thing, reasonable thing to do. I don't even know if basically me, as far as I know, who will keep coming back and also not tolerate that, because I like a challenge apparently. But yeah, he does that thing. You got that, is what it sounds like.
No, he was saying how I should have. See, I like to just let them speak so I can get their purview, and then I won't say anything. And it kind of looks like I'm not firing back, when in actuality I'm just learning about them. So I'll just be like, oh, okay, you believe that? And they're like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on, right? They don't like that. They want me to fire back and be like, F you and F this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, what I want to know is, and then I brought Jack up, and he tried to run from the fact that I said, I was like, you're hiding behind Christianity, and you want to implement a socialist utopia. And Paul's like, he never said that. He never said. I'm like, let me talk to him. I'm like, get out of the way. He's like, states don't make laws. And I'm like, they do. Just shut up for a minute. I'm like, let me talk to him. And I'm like, did you or did you not say that we need to implement a socialist utopia? And he's like, yeah, I may have mentioned those words here. Now he's owning it. Like I think he's going deeper into the
I think that he's just becoming more open with it. I view it as a step in the right direction, and that he's being honest about it, instead of a step in the wrong direction, and that his ideology is changing.
That's what I told him. I said, Jack, for your own sake, find out where the DNC is. Just own that you're a lib, and you know what I mean? Like, you'll do better.
I think that was. I remember you saying that. I think that that's fantastic advice. Like, that's the best advice anyone's given him.
I told him the very first time we had a convo after he ignored my spiritual warfare question. I was like, okay, well, obviously I can see where you're coming from. Not fully, like, I don't know your experience, but I was like, why don't you, if you're really trying to get in front of people, go to get a press pass. Go to there's a logistics department of the White House. You can request to get in front of people. No, you don't know what you're talking. Then I got it from, a few of the minions on the panel. And I was like, guys, do you want him to succeed or not? And I'm like, I don't want to see anything bad happen to the guy. I'm just trying to. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, I'm wasting my time. He's really out there. Like,
yeah. Yes. I was about to say something else, and I just changed my mind. He's out there. That's for sure.
That's when I was like, oh crap, because anytime because he had that like, I think he's trying to identify his mission. Like, you see those slides every now and then, and one of them, I forgot who it was. Someone said, oh, what's, your mission statement says this, and it was like word for word some of the shit you see from like the World Economic Forum and shit like that. And I was like, Jack,
go far down the rabbit hole.
I was like, why don't you just put like environmental protection in there? Why don't you just put like Greenpeace engagement? I was like, if you do that and you take it to the DNC, I'm like, you'll get a job immediately. They'll let you right in. I was like, just do that. He's like, no, they're going to accept my mission. And I'm like, Trump will? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Sometimes I kind of teeter back and forth between thinking that he believes what he says and thinking that he's manipulating intentionally. And I think it's sort of both, actually, because he's treated like he's soft, and in a way he is, but he's also like the game that he and Paul play with each other. I don't know how much of that you saw. They're playing the same game. Jack is more durable. They're both trying. Each one was trying to subdue the other. They just went about it very differently. You've got like class overt versus covert narcissism, basically. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people recognize sort of the he's assertive in a weird way.
Yeah, well, I noticed some of his thumbnails recently, which leads me to believe he's starting to understand the how the media narrative works in terms of like gaslighting people. You know what I mean? Like, he puts himself across a table in a thumbnail talking to Trump as if he himself had just talked to him. Then you're going in there thinking maybe he actually got it done today, when really he's just like doing the same thing. Yeah,
he's been doing that for a little while though. Some of the thumbnails are insane. Like he did one where he put his head on Hitler's body on Valentine's Day. And
wait, what was that?
Yeah, he found a picture with Hitler. He put his head on Hitler's body on his own thumbnail. Isn't that nuts? Like, that's just batshit crazy. Another one, he Well, there's actually been several where he like puts his head on Jesus's body, which that's nuts enough. But at least you're presenting an image where you're aligned with what's perceived as good, right? But to put your head on Hitler's body in your own thumbnail is wild.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you want to go look for it, it is on Valentine's Day. Yeah, there's just something else going on there. Where'd it go?
Yeah,
have you seen the? And I don't know if you're getting back to your thing. Don't feel like you got to stay up here forever. Feel free to go anytime. But have you seen the?
No. Listen, I just have to point this out before you go any further. Like, if I stick around to a place, it's because I see value other than, entertainment. I like having fun and comedy and shit like that, but it's different. Like, if I look at people.
I assumed that. I didn't get the impression from you that it was otherwise. I just, who knows? Sometimes I've had people ask me if they can, like, who was it? Might have been an Orthodox guy. It was asked permission to leave a stream at one time. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this, you come and go at your leisure. This is an open panel, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's like I'll go into a channel and I'll try and see what their position is, right? And if they're good in a certain, because I don't want to give away too much about my project or whatever, but things are happening, behind the scenes where groups are being formed because of certain things that are coming. And I look at them and I'm like, well, if I don't want to rock with these people, I'm just going to be out. But if I do, then maybe I want to connect them with other like-minded people, or, because some really bad groups are forming. I'll just leave it at that. Specifically, one's from TikTok, because that shit is crumbling. What
do you mean?
Well, there's some that they kind of left. I don't want to name any names, but
I haven't been on TikTok in years, so I don't know. Probably anyways, but
yeah, but it's something's not right with that whole scenario, and so a lot of them are coming over to YouTube. And media in general is crumbling in the mainstream, so things are going to happen here relatively coming up, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Okay, that sounds like an interesting project you're working on.
Yeah,
probably a blessing in disguise that you didn't get that cop job, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, because one of my brothers, unfortunately, he was, and they've had to put in their work of what I like to call mouth breathing for certain people. But when you get to a higher level, you start going after some really bad people. And I don't mean to say that because they've committed a specific crime, they're bad. More or less, like, they're hurting people, right? Like, if I'm doing something to myself, I'm not hurting someone else. But they were going after some really bad individuals. He was in a chase and he hit a brick wall and his spine was messed up pretty bad. So he was, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, there's bad people in the world, that's for damn sure. And there's plenty of them, which is part of my issue with the law. Well, it's not even police officers' fault. Really, it's the law that we've got people focused on stuff that doesn't have a victim, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and people are like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? The way that you can tell if the crime has a victim is if the cop decides to let somebody go, are most people going to be mad about it, right? Most people don't get too worked up if a cop lets somebody go with a speeding. It doesn't write them a speeding ticket, or says, you know what, we're just going to throw away your drugs instead of arrest you. People don't get worked up about that because nobody was victimized. But if you do that with a rapist, people will lose their shit. That's how you can tell if there's a victim.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Like, some, I was before I met my wife. I went to college or whatever, and I was in like crim and pre-law or whatever, but I had to stop because I had kids. But some of the shit out there is just ridiculous when it comes to laws. I mean, that's why I say they pretend. Yeah, both sides pretend like it's applied equally across states, which it's not, obviously. You know, statute of limitations, shit like that. You know, and they can. Yeah.
Cops haven't. So if you think about a police officer and what their job is, they're incentivized to not want to recognize, like, say, serial killers. Why they don't want that public sort of shit hanging over their head. Like, have you caught the serial strangler yet? So they're incentivized to not connect things, or they're incentivized to, if there's a suicide, be like, oh, well, case closed. You know, if you can commit your crimes in a way where it's easier for the cops to ignore, they love that shit.
Yeah, well, a good example would be how, okay, you have pew-pews that are applied differently across states, but the defend doctrine isn't, or is applied as well differently, which is wild because, you know, you see horrible effects on both sides of the spectrum where if you might be straggling onto somebody's land, let's just say, and you made a mistake, and they go, well, you crossed the line. Well, what if you didn't know? Bam, you know. But then on the other end, like, I'm from the Northeast, and their laws are like, you know, in certain areas, you have a responsibility to retreat, which sounds absolutely wild to me. And then you have idiots in the media being like, well, these are the pew-pew owners in the area. I'm not going to say what publication or whatever, because you know, this is kind of in my wheelhouse or whatever, but they published a document, and they're like, these are the owners, so they won't be attacked. And I'm like, you fucking idiots. I'm like, now they know where not to go and where to go.
Yep.
You know?
One thing that I'm kind of happy about, and I, like, it's definitely not worth the trade-off at all, but a sort of a weird little silver lining is, especially under the Biden ATF, but just in general, I'm kind of okay having documentation from a plea deal where I list out every single gun I forfeited, right? Like, I've got paperwork that shows that I don't have any guns. Don't bother me.
Yeah, I think you know, your take on DAs or whatever is very accurate, because
there's shit.
There's something to that, definitely. Like, with narratives and,
I mean, their job is, the prosecutor's job, and I'm talking to the audience, I know you know this. The prosecutor's job is not to find justice. It is to prosecute. They will try to make every case that comes across their desk, almost every, you know, there's of course the activists and whatever, but basically to make every case that comes across their desk, make the person look as scummy as possible, to get them the maximum sentence possible, to charge them with shit that they didn't do, to try to sort of plea deal. That's their job. And then for a defense attorney, most people get, I looked this up at the time, and I'm rolling off memory, but in Kansas in 2017, I believe, and I was looking at 15 years, I believe the amount that the state was going to pay, would have paid a court-appointed attorney to represent me through the whole case, was like $570 or something. That dude ain't doing shit. I'll tell you that right now.
oh yeah, it's like, I love having the Rick Moranis reference. I forget what movie it was. Oh, it was actually, was it Ghostbusters? I think it was. I make fun of the vegans and I call them Caveman Rick Moranis. But I think it was it the first or second Ghostbusters? Rick Moranis was the lawyer and they're in there, and he's like, "Don't worry, guys, I got you." He's like, bumbling papers everywhere and shit, and they're like, "We're gonna nail you to the wall," and he's like, this like, pencil neck geek guy who obviously doesn't know anything about case law, and
I got when I was in, I guess I was in college. So it was after I met my ex-wife, but before we married. So she had worked she wasn't qualified, but she had basically worked as a paralegal for a lawyer. And so when I got a speeding, wasn't a big deal. It was a speeding ticket, but it was like kind of a big one. And I was already on the special insurance for people who get too many speeding tickets. So my first court date, nobody showed up at all to it. So my license got suspended and it got rescheduled, which is a bitch. Then the night when he finally did show up to the court date, it wasn't even him. He got, lawyers will have other lawyers sub in for them if they can't make something. This motherfucker shows up. I swear to God, it's Cat Williams. The guy was like 5 feet tall, 5 feet tall, black, big diamond earrings, and wearing a suit with a bow tie. It was the wildest damn thing.
Oh my God.
He figured out who I was, introduced himself to me, and then I don't remember what he said specifically, but he's like, okay, so now this is he didn't even know what the case was that he was representing. It's like, no, it's a fucking speeding ticket. My license is suspended.
Jeez.
It worked out. I don't remember how it worked out. It's one of those things. It didn't go. The points didn't go on my thing, and I paid money. I probably could have done the same fucking thing myself. But yeah, the saving grace for me was that when I got divorced, my lawyer and I, he was about my age, a little older, we became actual personal friends. So when I got arrested on the drug stuff, I had an open tab with a private attorney, who actually gave a fuck and was good at it. But otherwise, because retainers are set off of, I can't remember, it's either your bond amount, which was $100,000 the first time I got arrested, or your charges. But basically I would have needed like $40,000 retainer for him. And
damn.
Yeah, and yeah, then I would have been fucked. I would have had $500 douchebag being like, here, sign this deal, this is what you got.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, in some of these cases, the process is the punishment, as they like to say.
1000%.
Yeah, man, it's just a nightmare going through the process. You look at what's happening. I mean, one of the things I'm trying to do right now is just store information, but and I don't remember where I saw it. Like, I like to source everything that I say in these kinds of things, but I do remember reading somewhere where they were trying to change one of the defamation laws to where it wasn't so tough to go after somebody that was, like if you're on a tier of wealth or whatever, and somebody else tries, to punch down, and you're the little guy, that you could actually go after them for something, rather than throw your hands up and go F this, and there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to get at them.
I would love to see some sort of recourse for prosecutors who abuse their prosecutorial authority, because the process is the punishment, right? And if you're looking at a plea deal, if you're going to accept a plea deal, if the alternative is bad enough, and like for me, I was looking at 15 years in prison, and I got 36 months of probation because I took a plea deal, right? So you actually don't have the right to a trial anymore, in a way.
Yeah.
If the outcome from losing a trial is dramatically worse than for a plea deal, you don't have a right to trial. You have a sentence that you're handed, and if you want to roll the dice, that the opportunity to, but
That's why, and although I am right leaning, they have made mistakes. But when I look at other people, point the finger and say, well, now the law is being broken in certain aspects, I kind of throw my arms up and I go, what are you talking about? They threw that shit out a long time ago. Well, a bunch of them. Immigration is one, but it's not limited to that. Like, I'm not.
I hate that immigration shit that they're doing. It's like people can't see that all the shit that you motherfuckers are cheering on, it'll be used on you.
Yeah, I could see how that could happen. On the other end, I'm going, you're the cause, because you guys were the ones that broke it to begin with. It's not
you guys being our politicians or the illegals.
I don't look at the people and point the finger and say, not anymore, because I've looked into it. Like, some of them, yes, they voted for it, but when you realize that it's a tool to get House seats, right? By counting them in the census, meaning what they really want to do is flood their areas to get political power, then you realize they are, a majority of the cause of the problem when they, bring up the sanctuary cities, and then they're like, well, it's really about identity, about being, America, the place to, we're a nation of immigrants and this stuff. No, it isn't. Really, they pretend it is, but really what they care about is gaining political power. They could give two shits about the people they're bringing in.
Yeah, multiculturalism is just a huge, and that
gaslight.
It's a complete gas. Well, it's almost worse than that, because it doesn't have a neutral effect. It has a divisive one. And I'm not saying that because, people are racist or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, literally, if you consider how tight a neighborhood can you have if you and your language or your neighbor don't speak the same language? None at all. It's a complete dissolution of community.
Right. Do you remember, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're not old, and neither am I, but do you remember a while ago when people used to have block parties and shit like that?
Yeah.
Oh, those were awesome, weren't they?
Those were awesome. Yes, they were great.
Yeah.
we live just like in the suburb. We're basically like the last stop that I would consider part of the KC Metro, on one side of it. And we happen to live about a block off of the historic downtown sort of strip. And every year they throw there's a festival. They have the carnival come in with rides and all that shit for a weekend, and it's a block away. It's great. I love it. It's the perfect size, but that's the closest thing to a block party I've seen since I was in college, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we went from love your neighbor to tattletale on your neighbor. We went from block parties to neighborhood watch. We went from friggin'
to ring cameras, having your fucking doorbell cam pointed at your neighbor all the time. I hate those things.
Right.
When I was a kid, I remember my dad and the neighbor on one side of us, we had a full privacy fence. They took out like 2 sections of the fence and dug a big ass pit like on the property line right there, and got a whole ass pig and cooked it for like the whole neighborhood and had a big ass block party. It was badass, but I've never seen anything like that since then. That was like probably the early 90s.
Yeah, well, things have, obviously become more polarized. That's what my worry is. I think we're heading there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it's been we're the same age-ish. There was no I don't give a fuck what people say. Racism was basically gone in the 90s.
Right, and then it was brought back. I feel like that happened like for a reason. But it's just it's wild. I
It's
mean,
a hugely useful tool if you're trying to divide and conquer, and division is obviously useful if you're not adverse, even if you're just wanting to manage a group of people, right? That division there, you could. I don't know if you ever saw it back in the day. Jack Talcott was really good at using internal division, like within his own community, to manage it. And by that I mean that he would use Paul and I to keep each other in check. Because Jack doesn't have a strong enough personality really to subdue either of us. But if he can keep us occupied with each other.
Yeah.
What it do, Rude Mod Crab?
Yeah, not much. Just chilling, hanging out in the VC, talking shit.
Oh, man. On.
Seen you pop in for a second.
Oh, yeah. I clicked the wrong thing.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
What did you think of that OnlyFans shit the other night?
I think that there are a whole lot of dudes who are mad at women and don't know why and are scrambling for a reason to condemn the girls that turn them on.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a survival mechanism for a lot of them. I think they're just trying to do work. I just think they're trying to do work.
Who?
Because
the women or the guys?
The women. I think some of them are like, they just want to, and it's like they're just looking for work because a lot of the economies are such shit. I mean, I try not to look at face value of things. Maybe it's just me. I could be wrong about a lot.
Some of them just like attention. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think there's a damn good chance that if I was a chick, that I would do something like that. If I'm honest.
Dude, catch me gaped weekly for $10.99.
Sure. Not like that. But what's interesting to me more than why women would do that is why the men, like the crowd of men who were furious about it and insisted that they were a detriment to society, but really had a lot of trouble explaining why.
Yeah. I couldn't give a legitimate reason why it's bad for society. Like, sure, okay, like porn, there's studies to say that for use of porn is bad for society. But fuck it.
And overuse of anything is bad for society.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that prevalence, I do think that it causes issues for some people. Now, that said, I don't know, maybe it's the people that it caused issues for. The first time I saw porn, like porn, I was probably 5. And I'm fine.
Yeah, you're very balanced, well-adjusted young adult. Right. Subbing to one chick on OnlyFans isn't going to be too much porn. Subbing to 3 chicks on OnlyFans isn't too much porn. If you're subbing to like 50 different chicks on there and that's all you're doing all fucking day, yeah, that's bad for you, but that's a you problem.
Right, and this is just an excess problem. Excess of anything is bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I would say in terms of harm, in the physical aspect of it, what do they call those, VDs or whatever? That would be my only lane. Other than that, I would be like, you have an option to go one way or the other. It's not on the person that does the content. But the spreading of VDs, I think, is something different. Like these days, and I'm not trying to go at women or anything like that. But with all that shit happening, I kind of wonder. I'm like, I look around and I go, well, does she have one? Maybe, I don't know.
Are you still married?
No.
Okay. But just the amount of animosity, I don't get it. Like, why would you be mad at a slut?
I'm not mad at her.
Not either of you, but hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they never done me wrong.
Yeah, that's the difference between a bitch and a slut, though. A slut's a slut for everyone. A bitch is a slut for everyone except you.
All right.
No, I don't have any. Like, my thing is you know, do what you will. You know, you're in charge of your own life or whatever. But yeah, like, I could just be like, wave it off, and that's fine by me. Like, go ahead, do your thing. I'll do mine. That's it.
Did you see that debate the other night in the aftermath, Mister?
Oh yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the fuck it was. I texted her after about 45 minutes. I was like, or less than that. It was like a half an hour. I was like, are you gonna let this go the whole 2 hours? It was bad.
Yeah, that Cooley dude was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell. I can't tell who's who on those sometimes. That's my thing. Like, I can't tell. I mean, unless they're usual like panelists, I can't, you know.
Cooley was the black guy who was one of the original debaters. He always leaves early. I've heard it's because he has to leave before he gets called out on the fact that his ideology that he spews is contrary to his lifestyle. I think he's with a woman who has kids from previous marriage or something. But yeah, no, he tried to say. He said, not only did he say he doesn't masturbate, he said he has never masturbated.
That's fucking straight lies.
Wait, was that the guy in the beginning? Like the original?
Yeah.
It was a 2v2. Okay. Yeah, no, well, the way I see it, like, the people that are coming on, they have their, like, they're peddling their channels, right? Or their, wherever they're coming from. So they have to abide by their, you know, lane's narrative. So they can't really say like, oh, I may have dabbled in certain areas, because then they lose their support.
I call bullshit. If you're a grown ass man and you're telling an audience you've never masturbated, I'm not going to respect you more. I'm going to be like, oh, this guy's a liar.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Some of them are a little out there.
I do think that they're like, I'm thinking of Andrew Wilson specifically when I say this, but like, he's not alone in it. I think that there are people who have pigeonholed themselves into more conservative, or, you know, just, I think that he's cornered himself he's got an audience that's would not allow him to have maybe less strict views on things.
Yeah, like I'm only right leaning because in my purview it's less harmful. But if it were to go the opposite way, I would change my tune instantly. You know.
Yeah. I suspect that you and I have fairly similar political takes.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of what's happening. And from studying this, I think only 30% on average of multiple Western nations have actual good leaders, and unfortunately, I only think that that's the way out, because you have a group that's like, oh, we want everything to burn, we want to burn it all to the ground, like how, you know, Jack Tolcott is kind of pushing them into that area, and I'm like, what if the bad guys want that, and then we get something worse?
Hegelian dialectic.
Right. Yep.
The alternative side, though, like, there's always and I think we're seeing overcorrection more now the other way, or at least the beginnings of it. I never thought growing up as a nice American boy that I would meet people who want monarchy.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people.
Rude, you're muted. I think you were trying to talk.
No, I was muted to cough, but the audio thing still reacts.
Yeah.
So you're both Republicans. You're both right leaning.
No, Well, I'm right leaning. Well, I don't know. People on the right think I'm left. People on the left think I'm right. If I ask you, I'm a conservative, and if I ask Grid One, I'm a liberal.
I don't think you're conservative. I think you.
I'm actually
like. I see both sides of things, and think both sides have good things and both sides have shit things. But I'll generally, if I'm going to talk about it, it'll be because I want to argue with someone.
Yeah, like I'm registered libertarian, but I'm right. I consider myself right leaning.
So, but yeah, I don't vote because I think the whole system is one big song and dance. I think it's the circus of the Rosen circus, and it's a placebo activity. It makes you feel like you're doing something while you're not doing shit. Oh yeah, I have representation. I go every 4 years, and I put in a poll to vote on something that that is not determined by popular vote at all, right?
Yeah, it's just different flavors of ice cream at McDonald's. At the end of the day, you're still eating pig fat.
Right. You goose. What?
Oh, that was after you accidentally popped in and out.
Oh. Yes. Well, thank you for the dono. The rest of these fuckers, it's been a pretty slow night, but that's all right. It's been one of those topic evenings where I'm not really hustling a lot.
Yeah, I was going to throw some up, but I was just waiting until I dropped down.
Oh yeah, no, that I heard you and I appreciate that. I wasn't hinting at either of you. Oh, I did pull these up earlier though, regarding Talcott. I don't know if you may have seen them, but
oh yeah, no, that was my fault. I kind of was steering into a different angle, but yeah,
so for a while, and I want to get back. Need to make another one because they're fun. Talcott says the words that he says can be quite creepy but he's got that little soft inflection, so I'd make little shorts. You can't hear that, can you? Damn it.
No.
I wonder why that.
No, I can't hear it.
Neither of them worked. Well, fuck. Give me a second. I'll have to share screen on them. Delete those. But I'd make creepy. I'd take Talcott quotes and then I'd sort of play with the effects and stuff and turn them into little horror quotes. This is good. I lost. You guys been around a minute.
Uh-oh.
I think it is time for me to call it close to a night. Thank you to everybody for coming up. Didn't intend for the stream to happen. It just sort of sometimes things just happen. It was interesting though. Interesting talks the whole way through. Hopefully I didn't hurt Sasquatch's feelings too bad. I don't think I've ever kind of snapped at him before. So hopefully he's okay. Somebody might want to check on him. Oh my, look at this shit. Look at this shit. Let me figure out where I'm going to rage y'all to. If anybody has any raid suggestions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. And true to his word, Mr. And again, I want to thank Mr. for he always sends Cash App so that there's no fee. I appreciate the fact that he shows support and is willing to give up. And I'm not even, this is in no way throwing shade at people who do. I do super chats too for the clout, right? There's a certain level of prestige and visibility that comes with sending super chats. He forgoes that and sends them straight to me on Cash App. So I do appreciate that, and I think and I respect that. But anyways, he said enough to be a whale. Thank you for the $50.
Money ain't a motherfucking bribe. It's a sport I invented to win when I watch. Known all the rights and the lights and the locks. Even known all the ice and the Sprite. You just try to get money.
Money of your motherfucking life. 2-ton angel carved out of ice. Alligator sailboat, $sign ice. Fill a warehouse full of Van Goghs twice. Get money.
Money or your motherfucking heart. I could give it to my dog. He makes money when he barks. So put it in my fridge or in one of my parks that I bought so my robots can learn how to log. Get money.
And so I saw a second ago. Where'd it go? Thanks for letting Cynthia do that. And then facts. It looks like people are agreeing with Zephyr's take on that. I'm curious why if assuming I interpreted those comments right, and they weren't agreeing with something else entirely. I enjoyed it, but I'm curious why did you? Because it wasn't really planned. I was just going with the moment. So what is it? Just because it was a good conversation, or like what? Or did it flush out something that people were unsure about? Because you got to. So from my perspective, and I forget, or I don't keep in mind that you all as an audience, all of you have seen different chunks of what goes on here. None of you, I assume, have seen everything that all the interactions I have or that we have on the Panelverse. And I lose track of that. And so maybe there's something that I feel like is perfectly clear that y'all didn't know about because, well, you know, it just isn't that visible always. This is an okay, that is an interesting observation. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, no, it's big. Pause. Yeah. No, it was an interesting conversation, and I guess they keep their shit to 2 hours. Hornet might see all. Rare impromptu. And you know what? To her credit, Cynthia is a really good interviewer. She asks good questions. She's great in that capacity. I'm gonna hit the like if you haven't while I figure out where to send you besides to hell. So if you all were here for the first part of the conversation with, you know, about religion and all that shit, after hearing that conversation, do you think I'm more or less likely to go to hell than before? Because I kind of went at Christianity, although I tried to do it in as respectful a way as I could. You know, at the end of the day, what I would think is what I think. You know, so and well, so here's one of the clips earlier that I was trying to play, but it didn't have sound on those files apparently. Let me share the screen.
You don't recognize here, this is a lesson you and Paul and actually many Americans, politicians will be learning. Accountability for what we say. Accountability for what we say. Here, you and Paul and actually many Americans, politicians will be learning. Accountability for what we say.
That was the first one I think that I made. I made 2 or 3 of them. And they're kind of a blast because it's Talcott, right? He's kind of squishy and nice, but if you listen, I don't know. You know, if you tweak it right, pause. Well, I don't know where the other one went. It's not jumping out at me, and I think I probably passed it by now. No, that's not it. Oh, here's one.
There's some real clowns. You know, I'm sorry. Before I get to that, I look forward to the future because I have so much evidence that people have no clue what I'm dealing with each day.
People have no clue what I'm dealing with each day.
No clue. No clue. No clue. Some of the fucking monkeys and nonsense, the arrogant fools that want to think they're funny. There's not a huge number of them, but the ones who are antagonistic, oh man, I look forward to the future, and I'll be revealing all sorts of shit on some of these people. Maybe not. We'll see. Oh man, I look forward to the future.
So those were fun. Damn, is anybody? There's like nobody live right now. Let me refresh this. You guys might be fucked if I end this stream. I see one just fired up. I see you. All right. When I end here shortly, I'll redirect you, and be sure to tell this guy I'm gonna assume that he was watching and he fired up because he heard me ending and looking for the redirect. So give him props for being opportunistic. I approve like a motherfucker of that. NPC the game member for 1 month. Good to see you, NPC. Let's see, how long ago did you send that? What time? Damn, it's NPC. If you're still here and if you would like to join for a second, I'm going to post the link one more time. Again, so earlier at the beginning of the thing over on Cynthia's, if you're busy, no worries. But I did. So he came up and in discussion, and if you didn't see it, he came up and basically something was being retold about him, and I wanted him up there. I wanted to hear his side. I want to hear the whole thing played out. And I saw who was watching, and I called him a bitch. And I did it primarily as a bait. And I did it sort of impulsively, and that was kind of a dick move of me. So I apologize earlier. He's cool, but I don't know. I felt like it was worth kind of apologizing again because that was really kind of assholeish of me. And it's a natural way to get somebody to manipulate somebody into coming on stage if they were not already there. It worked. It was effective, but it was one that if I had thought about it a little longer, I wouldn't have done it. But I didn't think about it really at all. I just sort of acted on it. So it unflushed some things. Where'd that question go? How do you stay calm on screen all the time? Well, I don't. But I guess my question, how to respond to this would be what is there to be uncalm about? Are you saying that because other people I interact with are piss me off, or are you saying that because it's anxiety inducing to be in front of a crowd? And I'd say with either one of them, I guess just exposure. Also, I think it helps if, and I'm not saying like that I've been through hell and back. I'm just saying like if you've been through enough issues in your life, then in perspective, irritants or things that would otherwise stress you out, like they don't look like such a big deal. There's not really, look, a stranger can say the meanest thing to me ever, and at the end of the day, most of the people who do it they're easy to write off, right? You've got Tommy who's nuts for one, or they're just faceless accounts, anonymous accounts. I recognize that the internet is a great place for malicious people to come be malicious with no consequences. And I expect that. And so it's just that easy to just push it off. So I guess my question would be though, like, what is it that you think would be uncalming? I'm less likely to go to heaven. You don't believe in hell or sin. All right, I'm not asking you. I don't feel like I need saving. I feel like that whole mindset is a toxic one. I'm headed south, yeah. It unflushed some things. So I plunged some things out. Don't believe in hell. If I don't like you, don't worry. You don't get punished in it. All right. Well, I appreciate you, even if it's just because you're weak. I appreciate you not punishing me. I think some fundamentals of Christianity exist. The second death concept, I think you'll make your case should be okay. All right. I'm with that. We all going back to the light. Some people are just going to burn a little more, says the all-seeing eye. That's going to be fire. It's creepy. I don't believe in hell, but I absolutely believe in evil. I'm down with that. Do a longer one. All right. From who? I have my power back. Like I don't think that. I don't think. Yeah, I don't actually believe in the question I asked. I was just kind of curious about y'all's observation. Evil is the adversary. I don't think he's nice at all. I kind of agree with you. Yes, he thinks he can play the long game. I agree. Yeah, I don't either. I called the police. I called the police when our house got robbed because you have to file insurance. Tons of anarchy. That's who I'm talking about. That's where you're going. I could be. Here's the thing. If y'all need a place to stay, like I can stay live, but you're gonna have to grease my palms. And I don't really have anything for you. Somebody, I mean, I guess I could watch OTW's response, but like at that point, it's like me. It's a response to response to response to response to response, and it's just like fucking wild. I did record. So right before I went on to right before I went on to Cynthia's earlier, I had specifically because I did not want to keep doing reviews. I played a little audio segment of OTWs what I saw. I just saw the very beginning of it, but I did a quick response video. It's like 11 minutes or something to it. If you guys are interested, actually, maybe I'll just premiere that and send you guys over there. And if you're not interested, you can go to Nidish's. When do I feel most nervous in different situations? I don't like things that are like pest infestations. So like bed. I've never had bed bugs or been around them. The thought of bed bugs terrifies me. Like some sort of like gross and disease or something that you can't get rid of. That shit's terrifying to me. Being Zephyr herself is pretty damn unfuckwithable. I am imagining y'all with no clothes. Get money. People with faces are praised. If you put your face on your comment, it has more weight than if you're just making a comment from behind a shield of anonymous. A lot of people are projecting. So there's a lot of people that are projecting. There are a lot of people that are jealous, and the jealousy is a motivation. I try not to, because I recognize that a lot of people also cope by accusing their attackers of being jealous or projecting. So I recognize that that's a defense mechanism. Even if I believe that to be the case, I try not to articulate that. I try to default in my judgment the other way, to assuming that's not why people are doing it. It's sort of like when people say, "Oh, I'm shadow banned." No, probably not. Like it's not that. It's kind of a hard feat to get a channel this size. There's 83 of you watching right now. And am I Joe Rogan? Fuck no. But to get to here, like the first beginning, getting the first 100 subs is hard as shit. Getting the first 1,000 subs takes forever. I mean, but things speed up. So, but there's a lot of people. I've heard a lot of YouTubers over the years say that they're shadow banned. It's like, no, dude. It's just not that easy to build an audience, and you're not that entertaining. That's true. I don't yell a lot. Right. Agree to disagree on religion. All right. Well, hopefully you pull your head out of Jesus's ass. Don't you basically live a Christian life anyways? That's interesting. I mean, it depends on. I would say probably my day-to-day. There's nothing. I don't know what a Christian life is, but I would say, yeah, my worldview, my behavior. I'm not Christian, but I look at the way atheists, like, you know, people in the, because I've dabbled around the atheist community on YouTube too. I just think they're weirdos. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, atheists, not all of them, but on the whole, as a community, if I look at it, this actually applies. It seems like if you look at a religious base of people, they have more confidence to like stand in their square. They've got more spine than people who are atheists do. And I gotta think that if we could take, of course, atheism is a religion as well. It's just an anti-religion, but it's still a faith-based system with tenets and you know, expectations based on the group identity. All right. Well, good night. Thanks for joining. I'm from the Illuminati, so I'm not inviting or recruiting at all. I'm not interested in joining. I don't want to have to be buried in a coffin in a mock ritual or sacrifice a virgin or any of that shit. Am I a Swiftie? I'm not a Swiftie. I'd probably bang her, but I don't listen to her music. I have to try harder if I want your attention, and after that, even you probably won't still ever trust. Is this at me? Who are you talking to here? Bed bugs. Fuck yeah, that shit's crazy scary. I shouldn't like you. I don't know if I do like you. Don't really know you that well. Fuck that. See, my daughter got lice from school when she was in kindergarten, I believe. And it freaked me out so bad that I was with Katie at the time. I lived probably a mile from Walmart. I flipped the fuck out. Katie was like, chill, I'm going to Walmart. I'll get shampoo and stuff. Right. So she goes to Walmart and gets stuff. While she's gone, this is not a long Walmart trip, right? It's just close. It's nighttime, so it's not super busy. She left, and then I woke up the next day and she had done everything. She'd been up all night long. She did everything. I opened a bottle of vodka and drank the whole fucking thing on accident. And I had totally intended to help her with the fucking process, right? It's my daughter. It's my responsibility. I didn't do a goddamn thing except for get drunk and pass the fuck out. You get jealous, but I tell you why. You get jealous. All right, you can confess. I agree. It serves zero purpose. I mean, let me rephrase that. No, it doesn't serve zero purpose. It can be a motivator. Discord seems like it might be a smaller community, but it's a shadier one. Which part's true? Oh, I remember that. I don't know if it is or not. Daughters of Assassins. You. Why are you blocking everybody? Oh hell no. See, and my daughter was my daughter. I didn't have the heart. Like that's what I wanted to do, right? Like shave it all, but like I didn't have the heart to like make her live like that. Yes, that. She does. He had not only did he have a razor burn, but he had a sunburn. I was in so much trouble. So one time, when I was in college, I don't remember why. I was drunk though, and I was taking a shower. And you know when they do tattoos, like if you get a tattoo that, like, let's say it's on your forearm or something, right? They'll take a safety razor and just sort of sort of swing it around there dry, right? Because it's not a lot of hair. They're just cleaning it up, so it's not like a whole shaving cream and shave process. I decided to do that with my chest and like my whole torso, my chest and my stomach and shit. I just like razor, drunk it, and then that hurt really fucking bad. Don't do that. It could be. Yeah, parasites are fucked. All right, are you guys tired of hearing me babble? Who promoted me? I should shout out BAO. Who's BAO? What's that an acronym for? What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was drunk. I probably did some manscaping or something. I don't know. I don't even know how I got the thought. I remember going, oh, I'll just shave like I did when I got a tattoo. And sort of like getting a blowjob from a chick with braces. At the time, it doesn't bother you. The next day, it hurts. You're saying he shouted me out? Clash with BAO. I didn't know he promoted me. I don't even know who that is. All right, where am I sending you? You're about to find out. Go tell that motherfucker I say hi. And if you guys get desperate enough to start missing me, be like, Flo, please go live. You know how to get a hold of my Cash App. Oh, you know what? It's been a minute since this.
Is an asshole. I tried to forgive, I tried to live and let live, but everyone else is an asshole. And everybody else thinks of no one but themselves, and no one wants to help because they're all assholes. And every friendly chat is the knife in the back for a sneaky attack waiting to happen. I try not to mind, I try to be so kind, but everyone else is an asshole. I try to let love rule, but I feel like such a fool, cause everyone else is an asshole. And they're out there even now, trying to mess me up somehow. They won't stop me now, cause they're all assholes. And they're planning while I sleep, and even as we speak, to start when I am weak, cause they're all assholes. Everyone else is an asshole. Everyone else I've got to get them first, cause worse has come to worst. Everyone else is an asshole. They put the blame on me, pretending not to see that I just want to be free from these assholes. Well, I couldn't take their shit, so I tried to deal with it. And now I look a bit like an asshole. I tried to be nice, I tried to live my life, but everyone else is an asshole. I tried to overlook, and I tried to close the book, but everyone else is an asshole. I tried not to talk shit, but I just couldn't help it. Everyone else is an asshole. They called it assault, but it really wasn't my fault. Everyone else is an asshole. Everyone else, everyone else, everyone else is an asshole. Everyone else, everyone else, everyone else is an asshole. And you're an asshole too. Whoa.
This has been the most painful 30 minutes I've ever experienced on any fucking panel.